Welcome to all MCOM first semester students for the video lesson on the subject of Indian financial system, and we were discussing the second unit which has started in the last classes. Now we will go for the learning of some important concepts as far as the commercial banking system in India is concerned, its structure is concerned. Apart from that, today we will go for learning of the recent trends in the commercial banking system of India in the advent of the merger of the banks initiated by the government of India recently. Now let us go to the learning of the overall view of the structure of the commercial banking system in India. We already learned that the commercial banks are a significant part of the financial environment and the financial system of our country, and these commercial banks are those banks which work for profit making along with other ancillary functions and subsidiary functions. Generally, like any other bank, the commercial banks also go for accepting the deposits and lending the credit to the needy sectors, people or the institutions in the economic system. With the differentiation of the interest between the interest paid and the interest received, respectively from the deposits as well as from the credit lended by them, they will manage their profit and grow in the future course of time gradually. The chief controller of the banking system in India is the central bank, which is called as the Reserve Bank of India in the case of our country. And as an overall level, as an outset, the Reserve Bank of India, being the chief governor or supervisor or controller or regulator of the banking system, will go for evaluating the actions and activities of the commercial banks from time to time. So as far as the commercial banking system in India is concerned, it can be broadly categorized under three categories. One is the scheduled commercial banks, second is the non-scheduled commercial banks, and apart from that, some other types of banks are also there as a part of the banking system or as a part of the commercial banking system also. Now coming to the question of the scheduled commercial banks. The scheduled commercial banks are those banks which were put under the second schedule of the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. So that's why they are called as scheduled commercial banks. And those banks which were not covered under the second schedule of the RBI Act 1934 are called as non-scheduled commercial banks. That is what the difference between the scheduled commercial banks and the non-scheduled commercial banks. Now coming to the question of scheduled commercial banks, we have public sector banks, we have private sector banks, we have foreign banks, and the public sector banks again can be of two categories. One is under the State Bank group and the second is other than the State Bank of India group, means the other nationalized banks. As you have already studied about the banking system in your BCom level, that the banks were gone for nationalization from time to time up to today in the earlier arena and the decades of the independent India gradually. So now as on today or up to 2020 as far as the data is available, the public sector banks are 12, the private sector banks are 22, the foreign banks are 46, which are functioning in the Indian financial system. Apart from that, there are so many non-scheduled commercial banks also. And besides that, there are some other types of banks like regional rural banks. They come under up to 56 in quantity. Urban cooperative banks up to 1485, and the rural cooperative banks about 96,000 across the country. Besides these, there are some other credit lending institutions as non-banking financial institutions which is going to do their business in the total credit market of the Indian economy or the Indian financial system. Now coming to the question of the performance of the scheduled commercial banks or commercial bank as a overall. Generally, the commercial banks will function basing upon their activities, and the overall categorization of the activities can be broadly divided under primary functions and the secondary functions. The primary functions include the acceptance of deposits, the management of deposits, and the lending of money, loans and advances, cash and credit. So these are all overall view of the primary functions. As far as the acceptance of deposits are concerned, the deposits are accepted as fixed deposits, current account deposits, recurring deposits, savings account deposits, tax saving deposits, and deposits for the non-resident Indians. Besides the deposits, the banks will go for credit lending operations also. They will go for lending of the money to those needy sectors, needy people, needy institutions from time to time for a particular designated rate of interest on the credit which they have provided to them. They also go for issuing of loans and advances, either secured or unsecured, or sometimes on mortgage of the the ornaments and all the fixed assets, and on that they will also go for the provision of loans and advances. Apart from that, the scheduled commercial banks or the commercial banks will go for the issue of cash credit on a particular security, or sometimes on the credit reliability or the credit rating of an individual in the banking system. Now the other agency functions what the commercial banks will perform are, apart from the primary functions, they will be coming under the secondary functions. So what are those secondary functions? The payment of taxes and bills, the collection of funds through bills and checks etc., transfer of funds, sale and purchase of shares and debentures, collection or payment of dividend or interest on behalf of the customers, act as a trustee and executor of properties, foreign exchange transactions, and general utility transactions. And the banks, during the course of their agency functions and the primary functions, they will also go for the credit creation activity and also inculcate something on the wealth creation and wealth management as a part of their operations in the banking system. As far as the recent merger of the banking system is concerned, the government of India has consolidated 10 public sector banks into 4 banks. The announcement of this merger was made by the Union Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman in the 2019 budget, and the RBI, however, initiated the action in the 2020, in the March 2023 order, and stated that from the 1st April 2020 onwards, the merger activities will be conducted and initiated. Why this merger is? Because several public sector banks were hugely lingering in the non-performing assets. Apart from that, the capital pool of those banks becoming weaker and weaker. The networking and operations and fixed costs of managing the branches as well as the human resources and the technology requirements have been gradually changing and becoming a burden on the part of the banks, particularly those banks which have either less return or not having a proper profitability on the part of managing their banking transactions. So, in order to consolidate the capital position, in order to strengthen the banking system, the amalgamation of the public sector banks have been made by the Reserve Bank of India through the order of the Government of India. So, as far as the mergers are concerned, today there are about overall 7 major public sector banks which have been in functioning by amalgamating out of the 12 public sector banks as well as some other public sector non-scheduled commercial banks, and putting together today we have a galaxy of a limited number of public sector banks as well as the commercial banks in the Indian banking system. Today we have the State Bank of India Group, which has been functioning in diversified ways of names of State Bank Group like State Bank of Travancore, State Bank of Bikaner and Jaipur, State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Mysore, State Bank of Patiala and Bharatiya Mahila Bank. And all these banks which now we have gone through have been merged into the State Bank of India branch. Apart from that, the Bank of Baroda has merged the Vijaya Bank and the Dana Bank. The Indian Bank has got merged with the Allahabad Bank, and the Allahabad Bank is no more in existence. The Andhra Bank and the Corporation Bank have been merged with the Union Bank of India. The Syndicate Bank of India has been merged with the Canara Bank. The Oriental Bank of Commerce and the United Bank of India has been merged with the Punjab National Bank. So, as an overall basis, today the main motto of the Government of India as well as the Reserve Bank of India is to minimize the number of players in the commercial banking structure of country and to maximize the governance and administration as well as the business operations to each and every new corner of the country. So while doing all these things, the banks are also having some more important things here as far as the public services provision is concerned. And as today we know that everybody is holding a debit card or an ATM card. As of September 2020, the total number of ATMs in India is increased to 2,10,049, and further it is expected by the end of the 2021 to nearly 4,07,000. That shows the importance of banking management through the kiosk system or the automatic teller machine system, as well as apart from that the banking services, particularly if you observe this pandemic scenario, have been more and more online oriented, internet oriented or digital oriented, and the commercial banking system has been further strengthened with the technology implications and properly being utilized the technology and the merger objectives, the merger objectives behind the merger of the public sector banks will hope that definitely realize the best of on the part of the commercial banking system in India. We will learn the other concepts in the coming days such that we will go for the more and more clear-cut understanding of the various administrative and managerial functions and activities being performed in the banking system and banking structure of the Indian financial system. Thank you very much.